Hey guys, Troy and Cards〡 here, back with another podcast. Very excited to be back. Thank you guys so much for the support. Really appreciate it. I don't think I've ever asked actually before the podcast, but if you are on YouTube and you watch this frequently, drop a subscribe. We'd appreciate it. We're going to keep the weekly content coming. But today we're going to be talking about Champions League, second league reactions. Maybe just a quick little finals preview. I'm kind of springing that on you, but we'll talk about a little bit what we're thinking. I think it's worthwhile to continue talking about what the market is doing. There were some PWCC auction results that I found very interesting. And then also we're going to do a little bit of reaction. Check it out if you haven't. Cards〡 had a great talk with Andre from Soccer Study, talking a lot about, I would say the general theme is like vintage or, established stars versus some of these young prospects that people are interested in. And then also we're going to touch on real quick SGC dropping their prices. Is it a viable option? So action-packed, filled podcast here today. Excited to get to it. But first, the intro.
Or a block. Sancho. Haaland's volley is beautiful. Kylian Mbappe's star is shining now. And it's risen higher than his.
Like to buy? What should I buy? What should I buy?
I think we're gonna see a lot more cards going up in price.
Neste momento, começa o cerimonial oficial.
Wow. I called it too with the intro last time. I said we cursed Haaland and Mbappe officially out. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, Courtois looked so young in that intro as well.
He did.
It's funny. I just noticed it.
It's like Easter eggs. Every time you watch, there's just something new to discover. It is interesting seeing too. Like it's like Courtois and Jermaine Jones are like the main two people you see, and you're like, wow, that was a different time there. But yeah. Mbappe, like I said, we didn't even we not only cursed him being out, we got him injured because it's like in America. You probably like the video game Madden football. There was like a trend where like every single player who was on the cover got hurt. Like he had a terrible season every time the next year. So
damn.
we're the new Madden curse. But yeah, what'd you think? What'd you think of?
We can say that as well about FIFA. Like Hazard was on the cover and Van Dijk as well. So
I think it's something like the fame is just too much. Like it's kind of like a karma thing. Like they're like, oh, Mbappe, you're on this select few intro. You've risen too high. We need to bring you back down. They don't want to let it get to his head.
Yes. He wasn't included in the squad. But everyone was waiting for him to come on. Even the commentators in Belgium were like, they have to bring him now. They have to bring him. But it just wasn't ready.
They said that, and you see him on the sideline, and he's like, as a beanie, they're like, oh, he's ready to come on. I was like, he is not ready to come on. I was like, they're like, he's rearing to go. I was like, that is not what it looks like.
Yeah, they bring him back into the on the screen, and you see him sit there, and you were like, well, it looks like he will be coming. I was like, no, it was never really a close game. But again, PSG, like that was the worst second half of sportsmanship I've ever seen. Yeah. It was a bunch. I put in my story of overpaid egocentric crybabies. I mean.
That says a lot going against Man City too.
2 red cards in 2 games in the Champions League, where you can have a shot at the finals again, and you'd ruin it like that. I mean, Verratti should have been sent off, but the second tackle that he made that was just yellow. I don't understand why he didn't give a second yellow. I understand they're already a man down, but if you do something like that, that's just yellow. Like, you cannot send that as an example. Like, you can get away with it because he just got red. No, that's ridiculous. Just give him red, and they're already with 9. That's just how it has to be then. But that was the worst sportsmanship I've seen in a long. They should just find these players. Maybe make it into a bowling point. I'm already starting at 4 minutes in. That has. I mean,
hey, you said it. We didn't plan it. That was a natural one. Please continue.
That they should find those players. Like getting sent off, and especially Di Maria. What was it, 33? He's been playing for all his life, and what? I mean, he gets paid so much. They're actually again in the semifinals, and they completely ruin it. Like at one point, you just saw all these players go like, "I just need a yellow card. Just give me one." Like I'm gonna tackle as many times I need to get a yellow card. Like how many yellow cards were there handed? Like 17. It's just that you have to find those players. I think that's the same, and I'm gonna bring it back to the NFL. Like,
Yes,
I mean, I'm going all over the place right now.
I like
There's
it.
so many times a team gets blown out, like 40-0 or something like that, and they score a touchdown and they start celebrating. Like, what is it they're celebrating? Like, you're down 47. Like, act normal. Like, you're still behind. It's a disgrace. You go behind 40-0 and come back to 47. Like, why are you celebrating? They should find those players. It's just for them to show up in the weekly dance moments or whatever the case may be. Like, what is there to celebrate? It's the
I haven't
same.
seen that one.
I mean, yeah, they do these weekly dance or weekly celebrations or whatever. Like, imagine being 50-0 down and you appear in the highlight because you make a touchdown at 57. Like, doesn't make sense at all. And I think they should find those players. You play for PSG in the semifinals of the Champions League and you do stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't have any of it. But again, overpaid, egocentric players.
Okay. Like I said, that means a lot, not only playing against Man City, but just like compared to other highly paid soccer players, being like, wow, you guys, your egos and attitudes have gone too far. That kind of just shows you the state of it all. And you know what the funny thing about that is too? Neymar saw all that and he's like, you know what? This is the place for me. He's like, I have to stay here. You know what? Let me extend my contract. I think they've shown me that this is the place. So
this can mean 2 or 3 things. Like the first one is he knows Mbappe's out and he can become the main man there. That's why he signed. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is he knows Mbappe is going to stay. He's gonna extend his contract as well, and he hopes with Mbappe staying that they can do something. Or 3, he has been made big promises. Like they were convincing him that he should stay because they are gonna bring in someone like Haaland maybe. And that's why he's decided to stay. I don't know. It's a lot of speculation, of course, but those are for me the most 3. Like I saw his contract earlier today. I saw the numbers. It was like 63 euro a minute, or what was it? Or yeah, I think 60. I think 63 euro a minute. I mean, that's like sitting on the toilet for 10 minutes so you can buy a new car.
Hey, not a bad way to live in Paris, making big money. The last thing I have on PSG before we move on, I'm sure anyone who's played any type of sport or watched any other type of sport, and I won't mention because we're too early. I will not mention another sport yet. PSG, like even though they do well, and like I said, they're in terms of where they've gotten in the Champions League, they've actually done well these past 2 years. But it's something like this is it. Like you see that team, you're like, they're never gonna win though. Like even though they're close, you're just like they actually have no chance of winning. That's kind of how I feel about them. Even this year, it's like they made it far last year. They made it far. I mean, sure, you can't like mathematically say or logically say they have no chance of winning, but in like just the feeling, I'm like they're not gonna win though. So that's just how I feel.
There's a bit of lack of soul in that team. Like you said,
exactly.
Di Maria gets red and the whole team falls apart. Normally, if a player gets red, you come together as a team. That team just completely falls apart in the semifinals of the Champions League. It's like, what? I think that's a bit of lack of soul, or lack of teamness. I don't know how I have to call it.
It's not. There's no cohesion. That's not just like a lazy like
cohesion. That was it.
That's not an old school. Like whenever I hear like old school footballers on there, they're like, back when I played, we were a team and blah blah. It's like, no, that's they actually are not a team. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I guess moving on, you want to talk about your boys, finals. Chelsea?
Yeah. Oh,
victory lap.
Yeah, it was. Timo Werner scored as well. I mean, if he missed that would be the meme of the year. Probably he would be bullied by it for the rest of his life.
Great guy Havertz was like, let me make this as simple as possible for you.
How can I make you not miss this one? Yeah, he was playing very well, Havertz. Shame he didn't score that one because he deserved to score that one. But it's a team goal. I think he was just happy that he went in. Yeah, beating Real Madrid 2-0. I must say that Ramos hasn't played for a long time, and it showed. Like, even though he's a great defender, it was a while since he played a full game, and they just put him on there because, I mean, it's Ramos.
That's
But
a
yeah,
tough one because, like, they said, like, if Ramos says he can play, he has to play. Like, I bet you
yeah,
Zidane didn't want to play him, but you can't.
yeah.
Like, it's kind of like you really can't say no. Like, that's your
That,
guy.
yeah, I mean that, as you said. So I thought that Chelsea was pretty strong. I really liked the way they played. They didn't really. I mean, they weren't like impressed or something. It's not like, oh, you guys are Real Madrid. Let's show you some respect. I didn't feel like that was the case. So especially for a young team like that, like Mount was like, I don't care that you are Benzema or whatever, or Ramos or Courtois. I'm just gonna do whatever, and that shows you how Tuchel. I mean, I do have to agree. It's Tuchel effect. I mean, he's doing a pretty good job with all these youngsters.
Yes. Pulisic as well, setting records. You see that stat? I believe
No.
it must have been, it wasn't first American because I feel like that's not really impressive. I swear it was under a certain age, first to assist and score in Champions League semifinal, like winning or something like that.
I don't. Every time I watch the United States men's national team Instagram page, even if he starts, is something historical. So I don't keep track.
To be fair, we'll take whatever we can get. I've definitely seen some stats. It's like first 23-year-old with long hair while it's raining to score a goal outside the box. So we'll no, you know what? It won't even be that. It'll be like they'll find someone with like the same number as Ronaldo. They'll be like, only the second player in history with the number 7 to score against Porto away, and it'll be like a 17-year-old American and like Ronaldo. And it's like, yeah, basically, the same player. So we definitely handpick. Last thing I kind of have on Chelsea, I mean, Pulisic said he's like, I keep having to prove myself. He's performing. He is. I mean, you would know better than me, but I don't know how you can say like, I think the narrative of, oh, this guy's just like, he's a real player. Sure, he gets overhyped, he gets overrated, but you have to be impressed with what he's doing 100%.
Sure. Is well, he makes an impact. That's the best way to describe it. Like, whenever he comes on the pitch, you just know something is about to happen. It's not, maybe he doesn't score or assist, but he just brings that extra pressure on the defense, and that's important because, I mean, if you can exploit that, if you can make the other team make mistakes, then that's exactly what you're on the pitch for. So last couple of games, I'm pretty impressed by him. I never said he was like a terrible player. I know. I always said
some
he was
people really thought
overhyped.
that though. Like, there's some people who thought he was at Chelsea to sell jerseys strictly.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was never really the case. He just lacked a bit of consistency with all these injuries. Like, I mean, he's a very good player. He's not like the top notch, but he's a very, I think, an important player for Chelsea at this moment.
I'm glad to hear that. Last thing I have on Pulisic, you kind of mentioned it, but just like his mentality, like the reason I'm starting to come around on him even more is because like he has that. This is definitely an American basketball saying, but like he has that dog in him. He's like, I'm gonna get you. I'm not afraid to like. I feel like he's the type. He's even said it too. Like, I feel like in practice, he's like, F Kai Havertz. I want to kill that dude. You know what I mean? Like, that's how he like looked. And that's kind of the mentality you have to succeed, which I'm not sure you always see from Americans like that. Really, like, I think that's what they say too. It's because like we grew up playing in the parks with our organized thing. And it's like, you kind of have to have that, like, I'm going to make it type attitude. And Pulisic definitely did not come from rough beginnings, but he's found it somewhere. So love to see that. The only other thing I have, I think there's a second week in a row I'm a king of plugging my own videos. I did a Euro soccer card tier investing list that's supposed to come out later today, pending sponsor approval, but that's a conversation for another video. But I put Mount near the top, and I put Sancho near the bottom. Like, I was just watching this, I'm like, man, I would Like, I don't know if I'm gonna. Well, at least for this summer, I'm not gonna say overall, but I'm a bigger believer in Mount right now than Sancho. What do you think? Which is
Cool.
controversial. You can disagree.
I I mean, everyone knows my point on Sancho, I think. I
Oh, that's
think
true.
I think, and it's interesting because that was not my initial thought, but I mean, they really use Mount as poster boy of that Chelsea team because
Yeah.
it's a nice story. He made it to the academy and he became first team player, and he's a very good player. But it's a nice story as well, and they really use him. Like Kante, I mean, 2 times best player of the semifinals, man of the match 2 times, and who did they bring up to talk to the press? Mason Mount.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's again this overhype. I'm never really fond of these overhyped players, but Mount is definitely one of these players that, I mean, he's very very good. I mean, he should be in the England national team for sure.
He is overhyped for sure, specifically like in England and in the soccer world. I actually do not believe he's overhyped in the soccer card world because I'm not sure I've heard anyone ever,
Yeah.
like, especially outside of people who actually know soccer. Like, I've watched, so I guess just what got me thinking, and like I'm not an expert either, but like I saw so many card show videos. Yo, where's the Sancho, bro? You got some of that Sancho? Like literally like cocaine addicts. And I'm like, I would rather, like, I bet you they don't even know Mount's name. That's why I'm saying, like, sure, he's overhyped like in these circles. I bet you those dudes have never heard of Mason Mount, which is crazy to me because, like I said, I also said like coaches love Mount. They love Mount. They love this dude. So I could see him featuring in a more prominent role. So it's just something to consider. I bought his Contenders rookie ticket, $475. I mean, Fati, those were up at like 800, 900 at some point. Sancho is like fairly expensive. So, and he has a Prism rookie card that I think is like somewhat cheap as well. I don't know. It's just a thought I had. I think he's performing, and I guess what I'll say is that all the bad things you could say about Mount, you could say about every single other prospect. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess that's just why I was thinking, like, in terms of rolling the dice on prospects, I never really thought about Mount so much, and now I think more people should be.
Yeah, maybe I agree. I think it's also interesting now you said it all, that Mount is so cheap while he plays with Pulisic, and Sancho is so expensive while he plays with Haaland.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something off there or an opportunity, but I agree. Like Sancho is, in my opinion, way overhyped. He puts up numbers too, but you're gonna see them. I almost want to say I want to bet you, but I'm not going to. But I can see a big drop off if he ever leaves Dortmund and doesn't have a Haaland there. You're gonna see a drop. Like it's almost inevitable. That's maybe a better way to put it.
All right. Well, I'll give you 3 names. I kind of already asked you, but and once again, I don't have hard numbers to back this up, but this is just really the feeling I get that he is cheaper. Mount. Okay. Well, okay, I'll throw another one in. Mount, Havertz, João Felix, Jadon Sancho. Whose star will shine the brightest at this Euros this summer? Just if you had to guess. You don't know, but
I'm not a believer in Germany, so Havertz falls off.
Okay.
Portugal and João Felix. It's a hot one. I'm not sure if where he's gonna play. Like, where is he gonna be on the field? So Mount and who was the last one? I already forgot.
Felix,
Sancho,
Havertz,
Sancho.
Yep. And also keep in mind, I'll interrupt you real quick, just because like Germany could go out in the group stage, and hypothetically, Havertz's star could still shine the brightest if he really.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be either Mount or Sancho.
Okay. You would have Sancho over Felix for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in terms of hype.
I'm not questioning it. I'm just
in terms of hype, sure. Because let's be honest.
No. In terms of performance, who do you think
in terms of
will have the best performance?
I think that's gonna be either Mount or Joao Felix then, in terms of performance.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. And I wasn't trying to pressure you. Like, you have to agree with me. I was just making sure we were on the right path.
Yeah,
but
in terms
like I
of
said, I guess my
performance,
point is, I have not heard anyone in the soccer card community talk that much about Mason Mount.
That's true.
So
but it's also because the England team is so stacked as well. I mean, there's so many players you could talk about. Yeah, but yeah, I get what you mean, and I agree.
Yeah.
I totally
Sorry,
agree.
I spent way too much time on Mason Mount because I'm like definitely not even the biggest believer. I just thought it was so interesting that, like, especially outside of the soccer card world, that I don't know, just the disconnect is very, very interesting. How just good to be updated, and things change very quickly. Oh, last thing I have on this, form is so important going into these type of tournaments. And I think Mount is on form right now. Sancho is a little bit too, to be fair, but like, that really carries over a lot of time in terms of like who's starting. Okay, I waited 21 minutes, like in basketball, and it's 100% different. Well, okay, maybe we'll call it the playoffs, even though it's different versus an international tournament. But like, in basketball, these guys could take a nap for 2 months, score 1 point per game, all these, and they will still have their spot. Yeah. That's true for certain players in soccer, like if you're Ronaldo or, these legends. But if you're a young guy, not the case. The coach will often, or the manager, excuse me, will go with who's in form. So it's something to consider. Okay, that was way too long on Mount, so I apologize.
Well, we still have City Chelsea in the finals, so that's again Mount and Foden.
Yeah, that's
gonna be.
Oh yeah, that is worth talking about. What do you think is? You mentioned it before. What do you think is going to happen to prices after that?
Well, it's either Mount or Foden that's going to have a spike or a drop. It's like whoever wins, I think, can have a spike for 1 day or 2 days, and then after that, maybe it's different because Foden can still win the Premier League. They probably will win the Premier League. So
my whole thing with Foden, though, is like, how much higher can he go? Especially if you have, like, I've taken, for instance, the optic base PSA 10. I don't think it's a full 800 anymore. I'm sure you can probably get it for like 700. Is that going to over 1,000? Like, come on. Maybe, but no, and not even maybe. I just don't think so. Like, the thing with Foden, that's the other thing. Wow. You don't even have to watch the video. I'm giving you the whole thing now. I put him in the second lowest tier in terms of people I'd be buying right now for this summer, which is crazy because I've been talking about him forever, but I was just like,
his price is already way up there.
That's when they run up so much, it's just kind of hard. It's kind of too late. Like,
margins are smaller. True, I agree.
Yeah, like, he really would. You just have to think, like, sometimes it's not. You really have to just look at the card, be like, okay, I'm buying this optic base PSA 10 right now for $700. You need it to go over 1,000, basically, fees, everything, to make any type of money. Do you think that's gonna happen? I don't think so.
It's gonna be a big push. Then he has to basically win the Champions League and the Premier League, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could, especially on his nicer stuff. I think on the nicer stuff, you'll always kind of be all right. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with the prices. I've said it before. I've said it again. We won't do the full, like, market talk, but I'm like, with basketball and soccer, like with soccer, it's weird because it's like like Foden, for instance, should cool off after this season. Like, he has to, but also at the same time, he's about to go play at the Euros. But like, there's no way it can keep just going up like crazy. And if it does that mean he's going to rocket all the way back down? But then the World Cup is next year. So it's just like, that's what I've just been saying. It's such a weird time. It's the same thing really quickly in basketball. Is like, okay, Zion kind of already went down a good amount and he just had an insane season. But now he's done. He's done. The Pelicans are out. He's done for the season. His prices, in theory, like everyone says, the cycles, they should go down another 30%. That seems like, just once again, the feeling I have in my chest, I'm like, that seems too cheap. So it's going to be weird. Like a lot of the events and the way things are happening, like it'll be really interesting to track what actually happens to their prices after the Champions League finals, considering the Euros are right there.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of hype. That's for sure. I mean, in Belgium, it's already showing. Like everywhere you look on television, on TV, they make commercials for Panini stickers again, and everywhere you go, they changed the name of the beer again. Like Jupiler is now red for the Red Devils, and if you order takeaway, it's on the bags. Like it's all over the place, and it's like, what was it? 2 months before the Euros, like 1 week before the Euros, it's gonna be crazy. But so the hype is building in Belgium.
It's going to be really interesting. I'm telling you, my biggest like thing I'm predicting in terms of soccer cards is like the people who haven't heard of someone's name, how excited they're going to get when that guy has a big tournament. Like maybe Mason Mount might even be too well known, but we'll just, all right, this is a terrible one because I'm really not predicting a good tournament for him. But like Dembele, right? Let's just say, I wouldn't say it's 0% chance, but there will be someone like that who has
for
a
France,
crazy.
You mean?
Yeah. Okay. This isn't my prediction, just for the sake of the thing. People are going to be like, "Yo, Dembele had a hat trick. Yo, that's sick. I need a Dembele card. That dude's a beast, bro. He plays for Barca." Like that's going to happen. And I'm telling you, that's the prediction I believe in right now. Is that one of these guys is just going to, like, someone we're not talking about is going to boom. And then that non-soccer market is just going to come in and it's going to be crazy. That's the stuff I'm trying to get ahead of.
Yeah. Maybe he's a bad example because I do believe he's a great player. But
I guess I just said him because like,
sure.
Someone who has a lot of talent that within the realm of who's young and could explode, that absolutely no one is talking about right now.
Yeah,
I didn't have a better person come to name.
Sure. Then it's a good example. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully Kimmich, maybe. Kimmich.
Yeah. But he's like
Drexler.
I guess it would have to be an attacker for me though.
Yeah, maybe that's
like I
true.
talked about. I said I don't know if they'll do enough for people to really get that excited, but I said like Chiesa, Alexander Isak, like some of these guys, like they could have like a big tournament and they're like $5 right now. So
true.
Sorry, I'm just go watch my video if you want to hear this stuff. Okay, we have two
Champions League final prediction. Who you think is going to win and what score?
Oh, brother,
it's City, Chelsea. So in that order.
Thanks for reminding me. After I switched up the teams last week, I probably need it. I mean, Chelsea's playing well right now, but City is so good. It's crazy watching them. I think I watched them. It's like, man, they can just bring like Ake off the bench. Like they just have so many players. It's like, it's crazy to have what is he, like $80 million rotational option who's 21 years old or whatever it is. Crazy. Yeah. Anyways, I think that, you know what? No, I'm going to go with City. I think like De Bruyne is just, I mean, your guy is just such a big, I'll say 2-1 City.
Yeah, I had the same 2-1 City.
Oh, wow.
Hurts to say, but yeah, 2-1 City.
I should be a professional bettor. Okay. Last, we have some questions. If you guys have any questions, definitely drop them down below. We'd be happy to answer. We're going to ask ourselves our own questions today. First one, it's not really a question, but SGC drops prices from $70 to $30. Hot tip, you can get them for as low as $25 through group submitters. Well, it was funny on the Sports Card Investor, and I'm a fan of them. They reached out to me about we've been talking about potentially a market movers thing, so stay tuned. But they're like, we're offering submissions as low as $29, and someone commented, it's like, you're fleecing us. I know that you can go as low as 25 and on the video. And I mean, yeah, I understand. That's not me bad talking them. It was just, sorry. It's just a funny aside that like that conversation was happening basically at the top of their SGC video. But yeah, the point of that is you can get it as low as 25. Do you think that's like a viable option?
It's funny that they drop prices. I mean, that must mean that they don't get enough submissions, I think. I don't know.
That's what people were saying.
I think for vintage, SGC is still a very, very good option. I don't, however, like how much you have to pay for all these custom cuts and all that stuff, man. I mean, come on. at this
you have to pay
point,
more?
yeah, I think custom cuts
Oh,
are more expensive. So,
oh.
not knowing what some people from the community, like PJ and people from more the vintage community, try to message them and come in contact with them to make prices more reasonable and to really help them. I think one custom cut fits like 12 different sets, and they didn't even want to listen and all that stuff. Like, feedback was pretty poor. That being said, I still believe that SGC is a very good option for vintage. I'm not sure for modern if people really care if it's in an SGC slab. I think some people would rather have it raw than in an SGC slab.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I own vintage, so for right now, for me, that would be a good play again, going for SGC at $30. But interesting when while they dropped prices. I mean, it's a lot of speculation, of course, but it's interesting.
For some reason, I saw that it was now $25, and for a couple hours, I was really excited. I was like, man, like I can do this, like turnaround time, 2-3 weeks. I can just be pumping these out. But then I kind of did the math, and I was like, I don't know if it's there. Like, because I was like, for instance, I have some Topps Chrome, like Ronaldo, Messi. My cost on those is like $20. I was like, oh, I can get these turned around. That's a quick little profit. But then I was like, okay, $20 each, 25. You're already at 45 for your cost. Probably, to be fair, I'm not going to call it a full 50. Well, okay, let's call it 50 for the sake of it with shipping and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're at $50 each. And then I looked at what they're actually selling for, even in a 9.5. And that's a pretty good grade. That means like you should be happy with that grade. I think it was going for like $75. Best offer. I think it was $75, best offer accepted. So after fees and everything, I mean, I guess it kind of adds up. But I guess the problem with that was you're hoping for a 9.5. Like, I always try to do my math. If I get all 9s, will I do well? And when I was doing that math with SGC, it wasn't really working out. So it's just kind of tough. The only situation where I'm thinking about using it is if I have a card and I really think the moment to sell it will only be about a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have like Harry Kane Prism, Kevin De Bruyne Prism. Their PSA 9s are doing like 200 or 250.
Mm-hmm.
Like in an SGC 9 or 9.5, like I can sell it, I think, for $115, and it'll be worth my while. Or for instance, someone like Chiesa, like I don't really want I'm not sure I want his cards coming back to me from PSA a year from now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the only situation. I think there are certain situations, but I think it's like very, very limited, at least at the $25 price point. If they can get it down to 15, then we're really talking. But maybe that's wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think if you, as you said, like if you want to move fast and move cards quick and low entry point and just get them slapped, just getting slapped, and if you get a good grade, then maybe it's worth, as you said, worth your while. But that's gonna be only so many players or so many cards from so many players. So yeah,
and it's also kind of tough because it's like the other thing as well is like that Ronaldo Topps Chrome, right? It's like if I get a 9.5, that means it's a good condition card. So would that have been you could maybe even get a PSA 10. So it's like, okay, even if you do get lucky and you get that little bit of profit, like you don't want to be too greedy, but it's like, okay, maybe this could have even been a bigger thing I'm giving up on. So
yeah,
interesting to think about. Okay, we'll move on from that. Last one. This is kind of in response. I mentioned that at the top of the show, but if you haven't watched it, go check out Card Hours Talk with Andre from Soccer Study. Great guy, really great conversation. I'll preface this by saying I feel like I was an OG. I was watching him when he was below like 100 subscribers. So shout out to him. Great guy, ton of knowledge. We were trying to find the exact clip. But how I remembered it was he was saying, why would you ever buy Haaland at $8,000 when someone like Iniesta is, whatever, call it $100? Card Hour remembers it a little differently. He thought he was talking specifically about his rookie sticker in a PSA 10, which at $10,000, I think almost everyone objectively would agree you should never buy it at that price for almost any reason. So I apologize if we're if I'm not paraphrasing you the right way, it's not any type of thing about him. Like I said, I think he's a great person, but I think once again, it's worth having that conversation of, because someone, maybe he wouldn't ask this question, but someone else would ask this question. Why would I ever buy Haaland at $8,000 if Iniesta is $500? You guys talked about it on the thing, buying the dream of Haaland becoming that. I guess my short answer would be the fact that you can continue to sell that dream.
That's a good one.
It's something I've said it. I've definitely said it on my channel. I've said it on here is you don't want to be a martyr. Don't be a card market martyr. If you try to like die on the hill of Lahm and Kimmich are so undervalued, I will never ever buy Haaland, blah blah blah, you're going to lose. And to be fair, which maybe goes against my paraphrasing thing, I don't think Andre thinks that way. Like, I don't think he's like a martyr, because he talks about there's validity for sure to flipping and modern. But I guess maybe it'll be a short discussion, but it's just kind of my reminder of like those people will get excited. People like to watch these young guys. They like to gamble. They like to prospect. As long as you're not buying to hold for forever, there's just validity to it. And it's just, I guess, when I was thinking about that, I was just like, you always have to be careful not to be too much with your heart, and you kind of have to think about like what are other people thinking. Sorry, that was kind of rambly, but do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, it was an interesting point. I kind of have to agree as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, even at 8,000, and that's true, you can continue to sell the dream. At one point, you cannot keep on selling it. If he goes to, I don't know, so let's say Real Madrid and has the same type of impact as Hazard, which has basically been none. Like, at what point do people realize or start giving up on it? Like, I think he gave a really good example of Balotelli at Pato as well.
Yeah.
Those were players that people were talking about. They were the next whatever. Especially Pato, he was very, very good at AC Milan. And
I have a Pato jersey from when I was a little kid.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I didn't even buy that many jerseys. Like, that probably was one of maybe 2 jerseys I bought when I was a kid, and one of them is a Pato jersey.
I'm convinced that 95% of people don't even know who Pato is. But that's a perfect example of the wonder kid who makes a dream transfer, plays very well, and just gets never heard of again. So that can be Haaland. Sometimes I feel like people talk about Haaland like they've looked into the future for the next 10 years and they know what's gonna happen to him. Like, no one knows. And if you really believe that he will become the next big thing, there's like 1% chance of that actually happening. Like, the historically, and history repeats itself, like the chances of Haaland becoming whatever people want him to be is so small. It can be. Like, look at Messi, Ronaldo. Like, what they've won 11 Ballon d'Ors in their history. Like, that's insane. That's never been heard of. I'm pretty maybe not convinced is the right word, but I might not even see a player beat that 6 or come close to that 6 in my lifetime. So it's interesting, but as you said, like, it's buying the dream, and how long can you sell the dream for? And also, like, it's something to think about. Like, right now, that price is 8,000. But let's say the world opens up again, which in some countries it's the case. Like, is someone still willing to pay, or can they pay 8,000 for that card? I don't know.
That kind of, I guess there's not that much more to say on that. It's just now that I think about it, he definitely knows that. Like, he knows that. I guess I'll put this note in. I'm not talking to Andre at all. I know he knows all these things. He's a really smart guy. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to the one person who may have misconstrued what people are saying, because I know for a fact it happened in basketball where people were like, Allen Iverson, why would I ever buy? Like, Allen Iverson is only this much of Luka Doncic. I'm putting all my money into him. And then they lost. They've already lost, because those, like, specifically Allen Iverson, even Kobe got killed.
Those prices were dramatically.
And he emphasizes, I know for a fact, this has turned into the Andre hour, but it just shows I enjoy your stuff. He's talked a lot about how much entry point matters. I understand that if you get in at these guys at the right time, but I guess I just want to keep saying to people that the idea that if you buy vintage, you are always making the right decision. Not the case. I guess that's the point I want to get across. There is a solid argument for modern at all times, regardless of the fact that the ratios are all off. But yeah, last thing you mentioned, the world opening up. There was a really interesting sale last night. Well, a lot of sales at the PWCC auction. Ronaldo Mega Cracks is true rookie, super, super low pop. BGS 9, I think pretty strong subgrades, sold for $22,000. And I believe on Golden at one point, it was, I'm pretty sure there was an above a 60K sale on that card at one point. I know for a fact it was at least in the 40s. Yeah. So I guess just stand by my point that it's just interesting because things are definitely changing. It is not a pop count issue or a Holland overheated issue that's going on.
Do you think maybe the people that have big money already have him, and right now people who maybe don't really have a lot of money are still wanting to buy him? That's why it only went to 20. I don't know. It's maybe.
Well, here's something this is very anecdotal, and maybe I'm just a big idiot, but me and my friend were tracking that Ronaldo card for a year. We were calling people in Portugal. I put a video about it. Like, we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. We're like, we need this Ronaldo. We need this Ronaldo. That sale went off last night, and neither of us even knew that it was going on.
Right. Okay.
Does that have to do with
I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, this is just for me in particular.
Yeah, sure.
Does that have to do with the fact that I went out to a bar on Friday night? Because I'm sick and I drink, so I just, party or whatever. But no, like, actually, like that, I feel like both, I can't speak for him, but it's like we were kind of caught up in our lives, and I think that's happening to people. A ton of other stuff. Here's what I was saying too, during the pandemic, like, I was really, especially at the beginning, I was on my auction game, man. Like, I saw every single auction that passed. There wasn't a single card that would get by auction without me like getting it to where it's supposed to be. I saw so many cards. I bought a Modric Prism Silver PSA 9 for $119, I believe. Pogba Prism Silver PSA 9, I think that was like $113. And my internet wouldn't go through because I was busy. I was just like, oh, I didn't even know this was up. And their Prism bases go for like $90. So that means people just didn't see it.
Yeah.
I think that there was a lot of people who just like were not watching this auction. They were just doing other stuff. That's not where their attention was. And it doesn't even necessarily have to do with the money. Like I said, for me, I can only speak for myself. I was just like doing other things, busy with my life. And I think that's a factor.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it either because I was doing something else. So I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe I think always it's so people always like, no, of course not. People who are in the market are in it for always, and but it's something to consider. Like, it's here. Like in Belgium, I think yesterday was the first day, or even the day before, the 8th. Yeah, 2 days ago was the first day that restaurants and bars opened. I want to bet that 95% of people that would have participated in the card market would have been on a cafe or restaurant that day. So I mean, I can totally get where you're coming from. So I mean, I will go on holiday in September. That's money I will not be spending on cards. I'm going to bars and cafes and stuff like that's money not spent on cards, or not anything else. Like not on digital, not whatever. It's just not spent on anything else than restaurants and bars and holiday. So
yeah, I think it's interesting. The last thing, I'll leave it on a slightly more hopeful note. I actually think it's less so the money, actually. A little bit of it is the money, but for instance, like that Ronaldo, right? Anyone who's bidding on that is not like, oh man, I can't afford a 30,000 versus 20,000 is too much for me now because my bar bill was a little high last night.
Yeah, sure.
That's definitely part of it, but I think a lot of it's the attention. Like, for instance, I'm telling you, this is anecdotal. I don't have any data to support this. at the beginning of the pandemic, I could not find a deal on eBay to save my life. If it was a $7 or $70 bin card, I could not get it below 65. Like no auction would end below 65. Now I'm seeing it all the time where like stuff is just under the radar. So I think the money is actually still there for the most part. That is a fair point, and it's true, and it will affect it. But I think it's funny, like there were so many like flippers, and to a lot of that is a good thing. I think people have talked about that. It's good that people are not everything is trying to be flipped anymore. But I think that's an opportunity I'm seeing. If you really are willing to put the time in, then
yeah. One more thing, I saw it on Instagram just before recording. I'm not even sure who posted it, but for example, the La Liga Este sticker from Ansu Fati. Maybe that's a bad example because of his injury, but prices actually haven't dropped on him. It's the sales volume that have dropped. Like it's nowhere near where it was in the beginning. So prices don't really come down, but people are just not buying. Maybe that's a bad example because of his injury and people are unaware, like not really sure what to do with him. But I mean, maybe that's the case for a lot of other stuff. Like the prices hold, but there's just no one buying. But yeah, it's interesting. We never know. That's why we don't actually know what really triggered the blow up of the soccer card market, because it was a mix of like basically everything that could have gone right at that time. Like we don't know. Was it the stimulus checks? Was it the pandemic? Was it people are sitting at home? Was it the NBA dropping off? Maybe it's a little bit of everything. But that one thing that really sparked it, we never know. So
yeah.
But yeah, I have to agree with you.
We'll say, yeah, just continue, keep your ear to the ground, guys. Just see what's going on. There's some interesting stuff, interesting opportunities out there. Be smart as well. Always be smart. That's the best way to protect yourself. But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Long one. Hope you enjoyed. Drop that subscribe, like everything, and we'll see you next time. Peace.